think after you have, arguably a region title, 13 linebackers. Now, I had 6 kids 2 months ago that weren't playing, that was studs. 3 of them I got, 3 of them I didn't. Lucas McKee did the car accident. And then Beacon, I don't know, man. Which we had to battle that. We battled this in his whole high school. Sophomore, no. Freshman, yes. Junior, yes. Back to no. Just wants to get ready for track season. It's weird for no reason. I got Ashbrook and Haynes out and Hutchinson. They were very much on the fence. Got them through. Didn't have to get McKee, Coomer, or Corey Wing, which is an upcoming sophomore. He's good. But I mean, I don't know.
But we wondered about McKee after he had the car accident.
And I think he did get medically cleared. But I think his mom and them, we've heard like 10 different things on that. Ready? Which way?
Hello. Hello.
You got me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Good.
Does it sound okay?
Lake Cumberland Sports 2023 Football Coaches Show from Buffalo Wings and Rings. Good evening. I'm Josh McKinney. Alongside is Southwestern head coach Jason Foley. The entire crew is here with Lake Cumberland Sports. Coach, great to see you. That means summer's over. It's time for football.
It's time. We're here. Seems like a long time in a way, but it's kind of came fast in a way as well. So we're ready to go.
That's funny. You say that. It seemed like about a month ago, the season seemed like it was a good 3 months away, and then here we are about 3 days later with the coaches show. We always appreciate the time and everything that you do for us. You know how this works. You're a wily veteran now. You're going into your 5th year. We'll talk about that here in a second. Always like to recap what last year was, and my goodness, my friend, last year was incredible. 13-1, first undefeated regular season in program history. 10-0, district champs again. Never gets old. Absolutely never gets old. And for only the second time in school history, region champs, and then ran into an offensive machine in Bowling Green in semi-state. But even so, even with that, an incredible, historic season last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome season for us. You think about a lot of unknowns going into that season.
Yeah.
We had lost some big-time names, in the Gideon Brainards of the world. But it was a great group of kids. It started, we had some early, I think the very first game of the year, down 19-0.
Yeah.
And we come storming back, and that was kind of the characteristic of that team. They never quit. If they got to the second halves, they found a way, and it was a lot of fun. I reflect on it from time to time, and it's something we'll all obviously cherish and look back on with fond memories. But you love seasons like that. It'd be nice to have those often.
Certainly, and I'm sure, no doubt, a few more gray hairs along the way.
Oh, yeah. There's always stress involved with it.
Absolutely.
But, it's always fun when you're winning, too, though. So it was a lot of fun for me and my staff and I, and we just enjoyed having that team and the run that we made. It was
Absolutely.
A lot of fun.
It was a great run, and we were so thrilled to be a small part of that. And you talk about that run, and I remember the 2011 team that won a region championship, and there were so many similarities. Last year's team to the 2011 team, and what the 2011 team did, and what last year's team did. That was a special group last year, no doubt.
Yeah, just a lot of different playmakers on that team.
Yeah.
And it was really all positions. I mean, line of scrimmage, linebackers, running backs, secondary receivers, quarterback play, had some big games, and it was just a well-rounded team.
Yep.
And we had a lot of depth, and I think we wore on people a lot, and was just a real good run. We rushed the football very well, but we also passed it well when we needed to. So it was a great year.
Talk about that depth, and we'll talk about that more a little bit later on, how that depth last year is going to help this year's team. I'm going to flatter you a little bit more. Other notes or records from last year. Most W's in a season, 13. 4-time defending district champs now, 7 straight region title game appearances. Best first 4 years of any Southwestern coach. 41 wins in that time for you. Only 7 wins away from moving into second all-time on the wins list at Southwestern. You're only 9 away from your 50th victory with the blue and orange. I want to flatter you a little bit more.
Well, I appreciate that. I really hadn't thought about a lot of those things that you just said. It's been a lot of fun. It seems like not very long ago you and I were sitting here for the first time.
Yeah, that's true.
But just a lot of great kids. I've had a lot of great coaches, assistant coaches that's helped me out along the way. And we just try to build a culture that kids want to play, and they play hard. We work hard, and it's not really a lot of secret to it. We put a lot of work in the off season, and it starts there. And we have had great numbers. I think we've been in the 75, 80, 85 range every year.
That's really good.
And when you play in 5A football, especially 5A football, you've got to have depth, and that's something that we've been able to create. And but it's been a great run. I've had a lot of fun with it, and look forward to more.
One more thing from last year, you graduated a lot, obviously. You sent players, my goodness, Coach, you sent them everywhere. You sent them to UK, Morehead State, Campbellsville, Georgetown, my goodness. But you see all of those athletes you sent to the next level, and you think about what you've got coming back for your 5th season. Let's start there. As you just mentioned, it wasn't that long ago you and I were trying to shake each other out and fill each other out and get to know each other, and it's been a privilege to get to know you and be around you these 5 years. Does it seem like it's been 5 years already? Does it for me?
No, it really doesn't. Just thinking about when I first got there, I can remember coming in March or April and having that group. They didn't know me, I didn't know them. And the crazy thing is this senior class, I remember watching them as 8th graders, and I was so excited about that group.
Okay.
And followed them that year. They were really good in middle school. And I just remember going down and watching them. Couldn't wait to get my hands on them for 4 years and be able to kind of get them to do what we wanted to do. But, it's went by fast. But you mentioned, some guys, and I definitely want to pay special recognition. Braden Myers at UK.
That's awesome.
Brody Perkins at Morehead State.
Mm-hmm.
Mason Hibbard at Georgetown. That's 3 kids off last year's team that's going on to play, and I think would be very successful. And there's a lot of kids that we graduated, that was big-time players from last year. You had Tanner Wright, who had almost 2,000 yards rushing. And, we had guys like Christian Kelly and some more linemen there that really impacted that team. And it was a great group of kids, several of them that was a huge players. Maddox Mink was big time, last year. Yeah. He was such a beast. So many games he was the best player on the field.
That's true.
So, but we had a great group of kids, and I think they're all doing well, and definitely look forward to following them at the next collegiate level or whatever they're doing later on in their life.
Certainly look forward to that. Your 5th season at the helm. Here comes the time. If you want to go, you want to start with your seniors. You want to go by positions. However you want to start. We'll roll through this lineup and talk about the boys.
Well, I think it's only fitting right now to talk about the seniors first. It's a great group of seniors. As I mentioned, when I first got to Southwestern in 2019, they were in middle school, and they were 8th graders. And I remember going down there and watching them under Coach Jones at the middle school and making runs that, I knew they were going to be good. You could tell a story that we had that first year. Our freshman team was 7-0, and Coach Jones, who was the middle school head coach, reached out to me and said, "Can my 8th graders scrimmage you all?" Well, I actually didn't. I told him, I said, "Yeah, we don't want to, get you guys hurt before playoffs." And I'll tell you what, Josh, they come up there and they gave our freshmen a run for their money.
I was going to say that was bold for Coach Jones to ask.
And he did, but they come up and gave us a run that day, and they were just so aggressive and would hit so hard. And then there's been a few kids with that group too, due to the COVID rule, 3 or 4 kids that stayed back into that class. So it's a great group. But I can go through if you want, and I'll mention a few of them. Owen Campbell, he's a kid that plays a wide receiver, defensive back for us, plays some quarterback, tremendous athlete. You'll see him in the secondary a lot. Caden Hewitt, big time receiver. He's definitely had his share of injuries, throughout his career, but we're looking forward to seeing what he can do because when he's healthy,
oh my goodness,
he's tough.
Oh yeah.
Colin Burton plays quarterback for us, started most of his sophomore season, started a couple games last year. He's got a lot of experience. Definitely has became a leader for us, so he's doing well. Colin Hibbard, Mason's younger brother. Colin is gritty. He's tough. He'll play some running back and linebacker for us, pound for pound, as toughest kids we got on the team. Caden Cunningham, he's had a great offseason.
I've heard, yeah.
Maybe the best offseason, as good of offseason as anyone we've had.
Wow.
I think he, put 20, 25 pounds of muscle on, and he's a kid that can do some damage on both sides of the ball, and you'll see him a lot this year. Trenton Lewis, come off an ACL injury, plays a defensive back for us. Nathan Vanover plays receiver, punts for us, plays some defensive back. So he's a tremendous athlete, great speed. Everybody knows Christian Walden. Walden, I think maybe 2 seasons in a row, went over 1,000 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Was our yards per carry leader last year as well.
That's true, yeah.
Owen Ashbrook's back with us after a year off. Got 6'5", tight end, outside linebacker, DN. We're excited for Owen to be back with us. I think he'll make a huge impact. Colton Goff dominated the D-line last year. He's back there in that senior class. Cameron Cox, he's a senior. He's a lot of speed. Plays some outside back or running back. Play a lot of special teams for us. Cooper Garman, a returning offensive lineman. He's 315 or so, big, strong kid, strong in the weight room. He gets his hands on people, he's going to move you. Tyler Russell, another outstanding lineman, probably our most athletic offensive lineman. He can really move. And then Nick Tucker, who had his ACL tear against North Laurel last year, dominant defensive lineman. He's a 350 bencher in the weight room and just stout. Jared Hutchins is new. He'll be playing D-line, O-line. And then my last three is Caden Petraka, offensive line, who is a returning starter. Cole Pierce, returning starter. Nico Pasquarella, returning starter up front. So I just wanted to, mention those guys because they're a special group of kids and really, really deep on the O and D line with that group too.
And we talked about that offensive line, the defensive line, as it pertained to last year. This year, same song, same dance. They're ultra important. And I'm telling you, you have been living the high life with a gentleman that you mentioned kind of last, certainly not least, to Nico.
Oh.
With what he does at center
and
everything that brings, I mean.
He's the glue to the team.
Absolutely.
If you go back to last year, and we kind of joked earlier about being down 19-0.
There was a reason, yeah.
Nico wasn't in the start of that game.
Yeah.
And he come in there 2 series in, and he's just the glue. It's hard to – centers are underappreciated, and he does an outstanding job.
He does.
But a lot of, like I said, line of scrimmage – we did lose Braden, but outside of that, a lot of our line of scrimmage is back, and so we're excited. And a lot of those kids are in that senior class too, so they've got a lot of experience. They've been in my weight program for 4 years. They're big, strong, and experienced.
I was going to say, it shows they've been in your weight program for 4 years.
Yeah, well, they've had no choice but to put the work in. I'm a believer in that.
Absolutely.
I believe in putting the time in, and they've done it, and they've been dedicated, and I appreciate them.
That's such a great senior class, and it seems like, in my memory, that's one of the bigger senior classes in recent memory, I think, unless I'm mistaken.
I think in my tenure here, it's definitely the biggest senior class that we've had.
I thought so, but
and we've had some great players in every class, but this class is just really deep. A lot of depth.
A lot of starters in that senior class.
A lot of starters, a lot of kids that's played in big games.
Yeah.
And they're obviously going to be the driving force for the team because of their leadership and the fact that they're veterans.
Now you mentioned Christian Walden and what he's done, going over 1,000 yards. No reason to think he's not going to do at least that this year.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's looked fantastic throughout the spring and summer. Just so elusive and such a big heart, and he's got a motor, a will to win. You won't find a kid more competitive.
Yeah.
I go back to the region championship game, and one thing that I remember most about that game is Christian Walden carrying Scott County on his back for about 15 yards.
Yes, that's right.
And that was in the second half, and that was just a huge play in that game. But that's just the type of kid he is. He sees the field, great vision, great quickness, and he'll be leading the pack in the backfield.
You know, so many of those seniors, I would love to have the time to talk about them all. I'm looking forward to see, Burton at quarterback this year, and as you mentioned, has become that leader that you've wanted him to become. I'm interested to see young Hibby to come back from what he had to battle through last year. You mentioned heart and drive. I mean, that's one of the best.
Oh yeah, we've got several in that group. It's always good when you've got a senior quarterback. That's now he's been in our system for 3 years, and got a lot of experience. So that plays a big part. But yeah, guys like Colin Hibbard. You mentioned the Christian Waldens, Colton Goff. I got to mention him. Those are type of kids. It's just a lot of grit, a lot of toughness.
Yeah.
It's kind of like old school football. They just get out there and get after it.
Absolutely. And I don't want to put any undue pressure on Colton, but I feel like he's going to have a Maddox Mink type year this year defensively.
Yeah, he really could. And he actually had a great year last year, too.
That's true. That's an excellent point.
Statistically, he was probably our best player on the D-lines with his stats because he was able to play a full season and did some big things. But you'll see him on the offensive side a little more this year as well. He'll be taking some fullback, our H-back top row on. Big, strong kid. He's looked good in the scrimmages there. So if we want to run a little power football at you, he can do it.
I saw a little twinkle in your eye. You're going to throw me for a loop at some point. I can already tell you're going to do something.
Well, we got a few things up our sleeve.
You always do.
We always got a few things up our sleeve. So.
Hey, come on out and see us at Buffalo Wings and Rings. Show your team colors and save money. Any player wearing the jersey. We've got a bunch of Warriors here this evening. $2 off appetizers. Any fan wearing their team colors, $2 off any dessert. Also, by the way, it is 99-cent wings night. Buffalo Wings and Rings. Good time and good food. It's the Lake Cumberland Sports 2023 Football Coaches Show. I'm Josh McKinney alongside Southwestern head coach Jason Foley. That's a dynamite senior class. You go to the juniors. What are you looking at?
Well, the juniors are a group of kids that's definitely got some big-time playmakers in it as well. Jonas Gallagher, Caden Flores, Caleb Lunsford, Braxton Walters, Logan Haynes, Jaden Larkham, Elijah Ray, Jace Gager, Alexis Sanchez, Bradley Baker, Corey Wigington, Hunter Osborne, and Jimmy Carrender. And a lot of those are recognizable names.
Yeah.
Jonas Gallagher, who has now been in the secondary for 2 seasons in a row. So he's a headhunter back there.
Yes, he is.
One of our most vocal kids. Flores, speedy back. I know you remember Connor Crisp a couple years ago.
Yes.
Flores is a little bit like him. He's a spark plug, just fast, sees the field well. Braxton Walters may have to play as much both sides of the ball as anybody we got.
Really?
He's going to be playing linebacker.
Good thing he's a stud then.
Good thing he can handle it.
Yes, that's true. Very true. Very true.
Running back, linebacker. He'll be a part of that 1-2 punch often in the backfield.
Okay.
Big, strong kid, close to 200 pounds, runs well, 4.6 40. Sees just great football IQ, so we're excited about him. Logan Haynes, he's a hitter. He's one of those kids that likes to hit. We're excited about kids like Elijah Ray, who is really coming on. He's not had a lot of experience. This is his second year since elementary playing ball, but you'll see him at D-end and tight end. And Bradley Baker, that's another one of those gritty kids, that you'll see him playing a lot of defensive end. He'll play some offensive line. He'll flat out get after it with a big motor. Corey Wigginson, Hunter Osborne, 2 up-and-coming linemen that's growing every day, so excited about them. A kicker in that group, Jace Gager. Gager is a shortstop in baseball, and we got him out. He's getting better all the time. He went 8 for 9 last week in our scrimmage with extra points, so excited about him. We're trying to get Caleb Lunsford healthy. He's battling a growing injury right now, but he's a kid that plays some tight end or wide out for us, and looking forward to him. And then Jaden Larkham, junior speedster, still learning the game. He's got a lot of speed. And so that's Jimmy Carrender's a tight end as well. So we got a depth of tight ends on this team. So he's great hands.
I always like to remind you, don't forget your tight ends.
Trust me, we want this year.
Oh, really?
We have
really.
It could be the best set of tight ends that we've had as a group. Now we've had some good ones.
Absolutely.
Brody going to college right now.
Absolutely.
But as far as a group, we've got 4 to 5 that we could rotate in and do that. Coach Tank, he's coaching our tight ends, and he likes to joke all the time. He's got the best group in the state. But it's a great group of kids.
Absolutely.
Those tight ends are, and we use our tight ends even in blocking situations.
Absolutely, they do so much.
It's that play action pass kid or whatever you use them for. They're very, very valuable. So.
You made me perk up. I love it. I love it. You mentioned Flores and the times that we saw him get on the field, last year. Talking about speed to burn.
Yeah.
The young man can boogie.
He's just he's got game speed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You'll see him in practice, and it looks good, but it's not great sometimes. When he gets in the game, it's like another level. But he's small.
Do you fuss at him in practice for not going game
speed?
Well,
just a little bit. We don't. We like to play fast, practice fast.
Absolutely.
But no, he's a spark plug. He really is,
yeah.
and sees the field. He's hard to find.
He is.
He's not the biggest, but a lot of times at running back, that can be a valuable tool when you are kind of shorter because you're hard to find.
And you mentioned Walden being elusive. Flores, from what we saw last year, he was really elusive at times.
He is. He can get to the edge.
Yeah.
When he was young, it was all about getting the edge. Now he's learning to run in between the tackles a lot better. And so been impressed with him. He's looked good early on, and he'll definitely be a guy that gets some touches back there and helps our offensive rush and attack.
We briefly mentioned Braxton and how integral he is this year, playing offense and defense. We saw him last year really bursting onto the scene, able to make an immediate impact. And he's going to have a huge year this year.
Yeah, he come on there last year about mid-season and just made some huge plays at crucial times.
Yeah,
he come in there late in the year and, he went from linebacker and actually played some strong safety for us even. And he's back at the linebacker role now, but he's just he's a do-it-all player. He's both sides of the football. Like I said, when you're 200 pounds and you run well, you become a load. And we're going to be counting on him big time. It's no pressure on Braxton, but we're expecting a lot from him. And I think he'll definitely live up to that because he works hard and puts a lot of effort into it day to day. So I think he'll fulfill what we need from him.
Seems like a smaller junior class, but.
Yeah, they're not the biggest class, but they definitely have some key kids in
Absolutely.
That class that will make a huge impact this season.
Certainly, and there's names in that group that you already know, and I know there will be names out of that junior group this year. Like, where'd this guy come from?
Right.
And put himself on the map.
Well, we mentioned Bradley Baker earlier. He's a kid that came on last year for us, played some minutes, and he's just, we had a kid named John Poe a couple years ago. It's just motor. That's what Bradley is. He's all motor, just 100 miles per hour all the time. And you'll see him in the DN, like I said, a whole lot this year. And he's one of them that's just a tough kid that kind of gets that a little bit of nasty to the defense,
We like nasty on defense.
You got to. If you're going to play it, you got to be a little bit that way.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. You mentioned that DN spot. Those spots in your defense, so crucial.
Yeah, it's especially, whether you're in a 3 or a 4 front, and we're a little bit of a multiple type defense, but either way, they play a huge role. Sometimes it's contained, sometimes it's just getting rushed on the QB, and we've been fortunate the last few years to have some good ones, and I think we still do.
Absolutely, you certainly do. That's the senior class and the junior class sophomore bunch. So
the sophomores, Zabry Cox, wide receiver, defensive back. Zach Hutchinson, monster receiver, 6'5", wide receiver, defensive back. Plays a little quarterback as well.
What?
A little bit.
At 6'5"?
He does. He's got some talent back there, so we're repping him a little bit. Deshaun Sejour, speedster. He's battled some injury right now. A lot of raw talent with him. Still learning our system. But he's a kid you'll see hopefully a lot this year, definitely in the next couple of years. Caden Daughtery, he's been big time for us at linebacker already. Plays mostly linebacker, a little bit of offense, but mostly linebacker. Colton Hewitt, that's Caden's younger brother. He came out with us last year for the first time. He's getting a lot better. Plays wide receiver. Tanner Smith plays safety, wide receiver. He's He's a headhunter, very smart. Nick Doan, he plays wide receiver, defensive back. Brody Walker, tight end. Denver Pike, wide receiver, DB. And then Christian Abner plays on the offensive line for us, D-line. And then Devin LeClerc, who I think we all know, come in last year as a freshman and started in the biggest district and region games.
So, monster.
He's a monster.
Oh, goodness.
And we're expecting big things from him. So, but like the junior class, they're not as big as the senior, the freshman class that we've got, but they've got some playmakers in there, and you'll be seeing a few kids in that group that'll be making an impact on Friday nights.
And it's one of the many things that I appreciate about you and like about you, and you've always done this since you've been at Southwestern, that, everybody puts in through the week. If you put in through the week and do what coaches ask and you're a gamer and prove that you want to learn and get better, it doesn't matter if you're a sophomore. It doesn't matter if you're a freshman. If you need somebody in a spot and they do that, you're going to put them in that spot and give them a chance.
Well, that's what we believe in. We tell them senior, junior, sophomore, freshman.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. If you earn it, you get it.
Absolutely.
And
you got to earn it first.
You got to go get it.
Absolutely.
But we've seen some freshmen and sophomores make an impact. You know, and that's hard to do sometimes on a strong 5A football team.
Good
but
point.
We've had some kids that's done it. And we'll have some kids that'll continue to do it. And like I said, that group, Zach Hutchinson. Imagine trying to defend Hewitt on one side, and then you've got Zach Hutchinson on the other side. So and that's difficult, to do. And like I said, I mentioned some tough kids. Caden Daughter has made a huge impact. We feel good about Zabry Cox and Sejour, but they've got to get healthy. They're both battling some injuries. And like I said, Devin LeClerc, it was hard to find a freshman defensive lineman, at least in our region area, that was any better than him last year.
I mean, take it on out to the state. I mean, honestly, that's rarefied air. I mean, honestly.
And he's a gym rat.
Is he really? That's just great to hear.
We go on breaks. We don't have a ton of breaks, but when we do go on breaks, I often tell the kids, just take off, whether it's spring break or fall, or not fall, but Christmas break. But Devin's one that, he's constantly saying, Coach, can I get in the weight room? Coach, can I get in the weight room? And
wow.
So there's a reason why he's as good as he is, too.
Right.
He's got the size, but he's got the work ethic, too. And
that's a good thing.
Looking forward to seeing what he does as a sophomore.
As a man that played at the next level, what that will get him.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got talent and a work ethic, that's the key. If you've got one without the other, it's sometimes hard. But when you got talent and work ethic, it'll take you a long ways. And that's Devin LeClerc for sure.
That's a great group of sophomores. And Michael Gregg and I were talking about what you just mentioned. Those two big, tall, redwood wide receivers that you've got on either side. Well, that's mighty nice for Burton to have as targets. I mean,
yeah. And, they both got great hands.
That's good.
Good speed. On top of those two, you've got a Caden Cunningham, who's a 6'2" kid.
Yeah.
And so.
Who you said probably had the best offseason.
If you was giving an offseason award right now, you would have to give it to Caden Cunningham.
I've heard that from multiple people.
And I keep going back to the weight room and all of our speed things that we did. But, we, as coaches in high school, you put a lot of time from December till now in those weight rooms and working in that speed. So I just watched him day to day, and it was attack every day with him. He was just attacking. And he's grown up a lot, matured a lot, and he's like Braxton. He may have to play on both sides of the ball as much as anybody, and he'll be playing a lot this year. And we'll get him the ball. We'll throw it to him. We'll hand it to him. We'll get a lot of different ways to him.
I don't want to get us sidetracked here, but knowing those receivers that you have, you finally going to throw it a whole lot?
Well, it's definitely going to be there, if we need to. Now, we're always going to run the ball as well.
Of course.
But we love to have balance, you know. And I think if you can go in, as you get into district play, playoff play, if you've got good balance, it's hard to defend.
It's important.
And, everybody kind of has their identity, but if you can have some balance, it's always good. And I think we have a team that can possess that this year.
Certainly seems so anyway. Certainly seems so. Seniors, juniors, sophomores, now that freshman class.
Well, the freshman's our biggest class.
Holy cow, I think so, yeah.
Wow. Great. I'm excited about them. the one thing that I'm most excited about, not the fact that they're big in numbers because they are, but they have came in with a fearless mindset. There's been 6 to 8 that we've incorporated a lot with the varsity, and they've not backed down at all. And,
They do know they're freshmen, right?
well, sometimes I don't think they do.
That's a good problem to have. I like it.
They definitely they're a great group, and I'm excited for them. And I don't know that we can mention them all here. I can run through them quickly. I won't elaborate too much because there is a big number of them. But Broughton Burton, Zach Benedict, Parker Burton, Colson Eichman, Michael Miller, Samuel Framer, Jordan Lewis, Cameron Bonds, Bradley Foster, Kellen Gregory, Joseph Miller, Ethan Walters, Zach Waters, Jason Campbell, Trent Talent, Chase Smith, Noah Shepard, Toby Doan, Gabe Strunk, Peyton Jones, Seth Dial, Hayden Ping, Dawson Swihart, and Caden Campbell. And their skill is tremendous. They've got a really, really skilled group. And the line have good size. We're just working to develop them. And I think, time they become juniors, seniors, it'll be a great group of kids. And so we're excited about the freshman class. And they've really hung in there. And they've stuck right in with those juniors and seniors and really helped us out early in the year.
It's certainly a great group of freshmen, and it's exciting to hear that they don't know they're freshmen. That's a great thing to push those upperclassmen and to battle.
Right.
It's to win a battle with no fear.
Even scout team purposes, if you've got to start in offense or start in defense, and sometimes it's hard to get freshmen to want to get out there and go against when they're 15 or 14 and they're going against 18-year-olds. But this group, they don't back down. And that's the most impressive thing I've seen so far from them.
That's a good thing.
And so we're excited about the freshman JV schedule, and some of them will get some varsity time, but we're excited about the freshman JV schedule with those guys and just developing them and making them part of the Warrior program.
Well, like always, when we get together, I've led us along too long, and we're quickly, as you would not believe, running out of time.
Okay.
So we talked about all the players, seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen. Offensively, you just kind of said it. You're looking for balance this year.
That's what we want to do. Now I would say this. You've got a left tackle at 270. You've got a left guard at 315, a center at 280 or 290, a right guard at 280, and a right tackle at 290, and they all can move, and they're all strong. And so the good thing is, we'll be able to run the football like we like to do, but we're also have good pass protection as well. So I think we can do some. I think we'll definitely have some balance. We'll utilize our length at receiver. Yes, we've lost almost a 2,000-yard rusher in Tanner Wright last year. But I believe the collection of backs of Christian Walden, Colin Hibbard, Braxton Walters, Caden Flores, Logan Haynes, Colton Goff, if Cam Cox gets in there and gives us some looks, different kids. We've got 7, 8 backs that can run it, and we don't feel like we'll miss a beat there.
I should reiterate or switch gears. Are you ever going to throw it?
Absolutely.
with those big guys up front, are you ever going to throw it? You don't need to throw it.
You got to get those big dogs involved out wide.
Absolutely.
Cunningham, Hutchinson, and Hewitt, I think, would definitely roll. So,
defensively, what are we looking at this year? Of course, a new coach in that spot. We'll get to that in a second.
Well, it starts with the D-line. My opinion, got the potential, and I say potential, to be the best defensive lineman in my time at Southwestern.
Wow.
And we've had some good ones.
Absolutely, you have.
But I do believe that. Secondary, and I'm jumping past the linebackers first, but the secondary, Owen Campbell, Nathan Vanover, Jonas Geiger, experience. So those three will lead the way. Caden Hewitt, Christian Walden will come in and play a lot. We'll have guys like Zach Benedict, who as a freshman I think will get some time there. Sejor, if we can get him healthy, will be back there. But we feel good about the secondary. I think the linebackers probably our biggest question, and it's not because the talent's not there. It's just they've not played in a ton of varsity games yet.
Interesting.
You lost Wyatt Stafford, middle linebacker last year, Maddox Mink, who made all kinds of tackles. And then Luke McKee and Ben Coomer's not with us either. So we've got 4 linebackers we got to replace. Now, Braxton played some, and he played some strong safety.
Yeah.
And Colin played some.
True.
But, Logan Haynes, this is big time for him coming in. Owen Ashbrook, big time for him. Cameron Cox, big for him. Caden Cunningham will step in. We got the size, we got the talent, but they've got to get the experience. And so that would be the thing, I think, early in the season we've got to get those guys caught up.
Certainly.
So.
Well, special teams, and it's an integral part. I mean, you can win games and you can lose games on special teams.
Yeah, well, we've got athletes, so we feel good about our kickoff and returns. Jace Gager's putting a lot of work in. Like I said, he's been very, very good with our XP field goal unit. Nathan Vanover will be punting for us when he's healthy. We've got Elijah Ray will do a little bit of it too. But definitely a third of the game, Yeah. It may have been the key play last year in the region title game when we got the onside kick.
Excellent point.
Jonas Gallagher, that's a play that will forever be remembered,
Cowboy made it.
So special teams are huge, and we put a lot of emphasis in it.
Well, you can't do all of this alone. There's no possible way that you do this alone. And I tell you all the time, unfortunately, you do have coaches leaving from time to time, and that means you've got a successful program, and other places want those coaches. You still got a really good nucleus of coaches that have been around you for a while.
Well, I think we have 2 new coaches on staff, and I do want to give a quick shout-out to these guys. Coach Eric Minton, our head JV coach, Coach Tate Morris, O-line coach, Coach Murphy, quarterbacks, Coach Norris, wide receivers. Coach Walton will be helping us on Fridays in the box. Coach Peyton Phelps, known as Tank, he does tight ends for us. Will head our JV as offensive coordinator. Logan Starnes, quarterbacks and defensive coordinator in JV. Tony Dixon, running back. Tim Loy, offensive line. Mark Cundiff, linebackers. Gordon Crow, defensive line. Jabril Soller, new coach, took over for Jack Herron in the secondary. He's got a lot of experience, played college football. And he's heading up our DBs, Jabril Soller. And then our new defensive coordinator, Coach Jared Swearingen. He was the D coordinator under Robbie Lucas for a long time, has been in big games, coached won regions, won a state titles, D coordinator. And we're excited to have him on board as well. And it is a new scheme. We've had that for 3 years. Our last 2 was fortunate enough to get head coaching positions, but Coach Swearingen stepped in, and kids are learning his system, and we're excited about it.
Good to hear that they've adapted well to that new defense.
They do a good job, the kids do, to adapting to things, and I got to compliment them as well. So
you got a great group of coaches, and it's another thing that I appreciate about you so much, getting those coaches that have next level experience to help these players.
Yeah, we do, and there's several coaches on our staff that's played at the college level.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean that that's the criteria. There's good coaches that didn't play at the college level.
Absolutely.
But we do have 6 to 8, 9 on our staff that's played at that level. And anytime you've played at that level and had that kind of experience, it's good. And we love our staff. I think it's a good combination of some veteran, but also some youthful coaches too.
That's important.
And you got to have both. You got to have the experience, but you got to have the energy. And I think our group of guys, I'm really happy about our assistants and the work that they've put in so far.
Well, you got a great group of players, a great group of coaches, and you talk about the Booster Club and administration at Southwestern and on out to Central Office and even family. You've got a great support group that's behind you all the way.
Yeah, well,
that's important.
I definitely want to give a shout out to some of our boosters that's worked hard in the off season. Laura Baker, Amanda Wigington has really stepped up for us. Charlie Russell, and we appreciate those. Nick Hibbert over the years has been awesome, and Booster's been great. And obviously, yes, I do have a good support system, whether it be family and just friends, whatever. I mean, I've had a really good support system, and we're definitely thankful. Administration's awesome. Alex Eaton, Mark Flynn, all the way to Mr. Cook, Mr. Richardson. So definitely appreciate all the admin and things that they do for our program.
Certainly makes it easier to do your job knowing that central office and administration is behind you and not working against you.
Oh, yeah. They've been good to work with our program and athletics in general. So.
Absolutely. Well said. Turf's beautiful, too, by the way, so still.
Well, we're excited about that still. Especially come October, November when it gets muddy.
Yes.
I think the turf, it's been a great addition for our facilities.
It looks great. It certainly does. Quickly, we're running out of time. Final thoughts? Looking forward to the year, no doubt.
Looking forward to it. I love my team. I think we got a good football team. And we're still trying to figure some things out.
Absolutely.
It's the toughest schedule in my tenure here. We've 3 or 4 state champions on the schedule. Ballard went to semis last year. South Warren's won multiple state titles. Belfry, all-time winningest coach. Franklin County's won multiple state titles. But we feel like that's going to prepare us for the playoffs and get us battle-tested.
Certainly. It's a heck of a schedule. And, Coach, we're looking forward to going down the road with you. Good luck. It starts this Friday night at Campbellsville, taking on Ballard. Appreciate all the time, as always, and looking forward to it again.
Thank you. Thank Lake Cumberland Sports, and thank you, Josh and Michael, and all the things that you guys do for our football programs. I know you do a great job, great job advertising and really helping us out. We appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you all letting us hang around. So, Coach, good luck. He's Jason Foley. I'm Josh McKinney. Lake Cumberland Sports 2023 Football Coaches Show at Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Check 1, 2. Give me a test. Just give me a quick
Test.
count.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. All right, I think we're situated. And we're ready to go. We're already live. How about that?
There we go. Yep.
Modern technology is a great thing. Just one of these days we're going to start using it. But now it's time to hear from the new Somerset High School head football coach, Clay Clevenger. First of all, Coach, welcome to your first Lake Cumberland Sports Friday night. Meet the coaches and all of that stuff here. And welcome to Somerset.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Coach, some folks may not be familiar with you. Those that follow high school football, we've heard of you. But just share with the folks out there, where you came from, how you got here, and how all of that works.
Yeah, I played at Danville High School, part of a couple state championships as a player. Went to Carson Newman College, fortunate enough to play in 3 national championships down there, and got into coaching. Coached for 5 years actually at the University of the Cumberlands down in Williamsburg, and then got into high school. First high school job was at Lincoln County with Coach Larry French, and I was his offensive coordinator. Was there for a year, and then took the head job at Henderson County, which is out in western Kentucky. I was there for 6 before coming back to Danville for 8. Had some success at Danville. Obviously won a state championship in 2017, had a Mr. Football, and now I'm here. So excited about being here, excited about being able to lead the Somerset football program.
Talking to folks around town and, of course, doing what we do, we get asked a lot of questions, what we think. And I just met you for the first time just, a few short days ago. So we never really got a chance to chat. But there is a lot of excitement here in this community about you being part of this jumper football program. And, of course, you're well aware, being at Danville, there's a lot of tradition here. And we'll talk about what that's going to feel like when you go up against Danville later this season. But how did you end up here as far as, is this something you were looking for when it opened? You just thought that's an opportunity?
Yeah, I've been out of the game for a couple years as a head coach. Last year I coached at Center College and really enjoyed my time there. And there was a certain criteria that I was looking for if I was going to get back into it. I wanted to get into a school that valued their football program, get into it with an administration that's solid and, has a history of really supporting their coaches. And so, and then didn't want to get too far out of that central Kentucky area. I've got a to-be sixth grader, to-be fourth grader, got grandparents in the area and all that. So, when the Somerset job, obviously, Robbie and I have become really good friends. We had played each other, I think, 12 times, and so we'd spend a lot of time, coaching against each other. And I'd known him going back to even when I was an assistant at University of Cumberland. He used to bring recruits down because that was his, alma mater. So, known Robbie for a long time. Obviously, it was unfortunate circumstances, the reason that the job was open. But I was contacted by a few Somerset folks that expressed, some interest. And, really there was I think there was a sentiment that Robbie had told some folks that if something happened, they needed to maybe contact me or come after me a little bit. And, just put everything together, and I feel like it's a good fit. And, it's been great so far. I was able to get in and get started right after Christmas break, so I've been through the whole off season with these young men, and they've taken to me. I can't ask for a more solid group of young men as far as how hard they've worked. They've done everything that we've asked of them. And now it's time to go have a little fun. It's time to they put in a lot of sweat, a lot of hard work over these last few months. I guess about 8 months now, and it's the message for the last week or so is that now it's time to really to reap what you sow, and so let's go have a little fun and get after it.
Sounds good. And you mentioned coming into December, that had to be a big plus for you to allow, one, to build that relationship, two, you get you don't get necessarily a football measure, but you get a measure of character and how hard these young men want to work. You mentioned that they've worked hard in the off season. Did you feel like it was, tough at any point in that preseason, in those off-season workouts, or did they take to you right away and start believing in what you were trying to get them to accomplish?
I think as a nucleus, we've had some kids, just like you have it in every off-season, but from a nucleus of probably 25 to 30 kids, they've just – I'd say if I ran if we had an attendance roster from January till now, we probably have 25 or 30 kids that have missed one or two or less days, out of probably 70 or 80. And so it's just, they've really taken to it, and they've really worked, and they haven't had too many bad days out of it. And when they've had a bad day, if you tell them, they pick it up. And so from that standpoint, it's been a really fun group to be around, and it's not a whole lot more you can ask for as a coach as far as their attitudes and their approach to doing what they need to do day in and day out.
Coach, you take over a team that finished, I believe it was 6-6 last year, got a first round win in the playoffs. I think a lot of people looked at that as an upset over Greene County, but they made a lot of strides last year from the previous year, a very young squad. You're coming in fresh. Do you go back and look at film? I'm old school. Video of last season just to get an idea of what you may or may not have?
I did a little bit on some common opponents, just from teams that they played last year that they're going to play this year. Nobody else, and so. But I don't put a lot of stock into that. There's kids that they're going to change a lot in a year, physically, mentally, and all that kind of stuff. So, like I said, it's kind of a fresh slate, and I've approached everything that we've done from the get-go, from dealing with assistant coaches to the players. Is everything's on a fresh slate, and what are we going to be moving forward?
Coach, let's talk about this squad. I know you're excited. You've got 2 scrimmages under your belt now, and it's crunch time. Friday night we kick things off over in Hazard against Perry County Central. But tell us a little bit about your ball club. I'll let you start on whichever side of the ball you like to start on.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically, everything's new
Okay.
From how we work out to how we call plays to how we call formations to everything that we do defensively. So, it's been a learning process. for everybody involved, from assistant coaches all the way down to the players. And, and so when you got so much of that, I have to be careful not to go too fast or get too ahead of myself because I know what I want the end product to look like. And we got to make sure that we trust that process and we're working hard daily to get it. But, offensively, hopefully you're going to see a multiple offense that's able to throw the football well. I think we got some guys that can catch the football. I think Josh Bruner has done a good job through 7-on-7s and through our first 2 scrimmages of being able to distribute the football where it needs to go. And a lot of that might be quick short passes. But then if we can draw a defense up, be able to beat them over the top, which we've been able to do in a couple of scrimmages as well. So, I think using the passing game to be able to expand the field both horizontally and vertically, and then using that perhaps to set up the run. Sometimes you run the football to set up the pass. I think early in the season at times we might be, throwing the football to set up the run just a little bit because that's where our strength lies.
Got a chance to watch your offense against Mercer County in that scrimmage, and if you like a lot of people call it the spread offense, and think it is a dominant passing offense. But a lot of it is get the ball out on the edge, get it in the hands of some athletes, and let them make plays. Is that what you feel like you've got guys in the system that can do that for you this year?
That's what you hope. I haven't called offensive plays like I will this year for about 10 years. I did the defense while I was at Danville. My first year at Danville, I did both as well. But when I called offense, I was a split back veer. I mean, we were running the football. Right. That's what I had done in college, and it's really what my background is. When I was at Danville, our skill set didn't match that, and so we had to kind of shift gears and go to more of this spread option and doing some things and getting the ball out in space. So we did that for about 8 or 9 years and had some success doing it. We've had, I think, the all-time leading passer at Danville. I had the all-time leading receiver, 2 or 3 of the top guys, and so being able to bring that here, I think it matches pretty well with what we got this year. We got some guys that have some explosive speed that are going to be good in space, and so I've got to figure out a way to get them the football. And and Josh Bruner so far he's a very intelligent young man. He picks up on things really quick, and he gets the ball. He's accurate, and so a lot of the things that we like to do, I think, fit our skill set.
You talk about Josh at quarterback. Behind him, you've got some experienced senior leadership in Cam Hughes. You expect to see him get the workload back there?
Yeah, I think so. Cam's a kid that can do a lot of things. He's a great receiver. And he's one of those. He and his brother are both kind of they're slashes, so to speak. They might line up in the backfield. They might line up at receiver. They might come in motion and get the ball on jet sweeps. They might be running the deep ball. So, I think being able to move those kids around and try to exploit their strengths, is it's my job. It's our job as coaches to be able to put them in positions to where they can be successful.
Takes wide receivers. You mentioned you've got some guys you feel confident about that have some speed, but also, catch the football. That's got to be job one. Doesn't matter how fast you run if you don't have the ball.
That's right. Caden Samala has done a good job. Braden McChrystal's done a good job so far, as receivers. Isaiah Lewis is a young man that kind of came out this summer. It's a baseball guy that has done a good job. You add in Chris and Cam McCaskill. We've got, 7 or 8 guys. I feel like Chaz Reams, who's our tight end, catches the ball really well. So, being able to spread out and keep the defense on their heels and, wondering where the football might go and being able to do that early in downs, is going to be important for us. And I don't like being behind the chains, but if as long as you're getting 7 or 8 yards on first down, you can be a really good play caller.
Makes the offense
it does.
Go pretty well, doesn't it?
Whether or not that's because you're running the football, or whether or not it's because you can hit some quick passes and get the ball out. And being able to do that, especially in the passing game, I think you can wear a defense down. It makes them chase the football. It chases them wide. And so, there's a lot of benefits to it, but you have to be able to throw and you have to be able to catch. You don't want to just throw it to throw it and be second down and 10 or whatever. So we've been good at that so far, and time will tell whether we can sustain the passing attack.
Very good. Of course, none of it gets accomplished if you don't have some good protection up front. You already mentioned your tight end, and in this offense, it goes back a long way in football. Tight ends kind of dual role guys. They got to block and they got to be able to catch, but you also need a good interior line. How is that shaping up this year?
It's coming together. We got a couple of young guys in some key spots, and we've got older guys as far as seniors, but they haven't played a whole lot. And so I like to say we're green, not necessarily young, but we're green. Jason Gambrell is a young man who's our only returning starter from last year up front. He's our right guard, and so we're going to have 4 new guys, and it's going to take a little time. I mean, I was an offensive lineman. I understand the fact that that group has to work in unison, and we've got a little ways to go to continue to work that, but we're showing progress from week 1 to last week, and I feel good about being able to sustain that. And, I think that, with Cam in the backfield and his explosiveness, once it starts to click, I expect it to be really good.
Let's flip to the other side of the ball defensively. Again, you're coming in, changing philosophy for these men, I'm guessing. What is it you like to do defensively, and how have your kids taken to your style, your system?
Well, multiple mostly a 3-4. I call it an old school 50, but it's really a 3-4. I mean, you got your 3 down linemen, you're playing with 4 linebacker types, and then. And then you're mixing it up. We're not the biggest up front. We got some good length. We got some, a couple 6'3", 6'4" ends and some things like that. But I look to try to get as much speed on the field defensively as we can. I'll take speed over size because I want 8, 9, 10, 11 guys getting to the football. And right now we're making mistakes in our job. It's going to be a rule-based defense to where. Everybody's got their job to do, and everybody's doing their job. It'll click well. When somebody doesn't do their job, but you got 8 or 9 around them playing really hard, it'll still be fine. And so that effort and that attitude and getting to the football is important.
As a guy who also played in a 52 defense, I know what you're talking about. I still call those outside guys, the outside linebackers, I call them defensive ends, tackles and a nose guard. But tell us a little bit that interior, those 3 guys or 4 guys sometimes as they be, who you got there and who you're looking for big things from.
Yeah, I think, you got Zach Koger, who's going to play our nose guard. He's a junior. He's very active, very strong, very athletic. He can probably play linebacker. He moves really well, and so hopefully he's a good anchor that can make plays. Then you got Jake Bartley and Zach Carter, who are both ends. They're both athletic. So I feel like our front 3 can, hopefully wreak some havoc because of their athleticism, and being able to put them on the move and doing some things like that. Linebacker core is going to be, Brady Barnes. It's kind of our what I call our wheel linebacker. He's going to be making a lot of our calls and getting us lined up right. And so, he's had to go through a little bit of a learning curve with that, but I think that he's done a good job with it. Next to him, we've kind of had a couple of guys that's worked there, and it's kind of still an open competition to see who's going to be in that other inside linebacker spot. Outside linebacker-wise, you got, Austin Lawless, who's a young guy who's got a high motor that's really played well for us so far in the first 2 scrimmage. Grayson Gulak's played well and whatnot. So, we'll see on those guys. There's a lot of room for improvement there, which is a good thing at this time of the year.
I know, when you play that style of defense, 3-4, a lot of the times the job up front is to clear away so the linebackers they get in on a lot of tackles. But it also, you rely a lot on your defensive backs, especially if you use a strong safety up there to kind of help those linebackers. I like to call that guy kind of a hybrid guy. Is that something you'll utilize in this defense as well?
We do. It's Cam McCaskill is a young man he's our strong safety, and he'll come down, be basically another linebacker at times, and then obviously he's playing deep at times, and so he's kind of that hybrid. Cam Hughes is playing free safety for us. Chris Hughes is the corner, and then Braden McChrystal is playing the other corner, and we've got a little depth in the secondary. We're trying to platoon as much as we can up front with those D linemen and offensive linemen, trying to keep them fresh. And then you'll see a lot of guys rotate between receiver and DB, where they might play one series, one side of the ball and whatnot, just to try to keep those guys fresh as well early in the season.
Which can be a little tougher to do with a shorter roster at a smaller school, but coming from Danville, you're used to that. You don't always have where you can two platoon guys back and forth. But we've talked about offense and defense, 2/3 of the game, but there's another part that's really important. Tell us a little bit about your special teams and just, briefly touch on your philosophy with your special teams.
Obviously it's important. A lot of times you're just trying to get guys. I've been fortunate to have some really, really talented kickers, and there's times when you gotta mold your kicking game around how your kickers are, and so we got the twins, the Rubel twins, Ethan and Anderson, that do our kickoff and PAT duties, and they both. They don't have super strong legs, but they're both very accurate. And, but I've been pleased because, I've seen them add yardage onto their kickoffs where we're hitting the ball inside the 15 now, which I think with good coverage will allow us to be able to, hopefully make teams drive the length of the field to be able to score. Cam Hughes is going to be doing our punting. So he's going to be a little bit of doing it all. But, it's a part of the game that we spend, quite a bit of time on throughout the week just to make sure that we're solid and, getting guys on the field that can run and make hits in open space, and then being able to protect, biggest thing that can happen is, a punt or, block or a punt return for a touchdown that can switch the momentum in a game as fast as anything. So we're just making sure that we're good and solid versus those things.
A lot of people that may be somewhat new to football, as these kids come up, they didn't have anybody in their family that played, they don't quite understand. But special teams creates what I've heard a lot of coaches describe as hidden yardage. You may look at the stats and you think, my goodness, how did this happen or how did that happen? But then when you look at some of the advantages you gain in special teams, have you been able to get your kids to buy into that? And I keep calling them kids. I apologize to them. They're young men. But have they been able to buy into that, the philosophy that special teams is a vital part of the game?
Yeah, definitely. So far these young men have bought into everything. If we tell them to go out there and try to run through a wall, they've done that for us. And so, they're going to go out, and a lot of times that's a chance for a young man that might not be getting quite as much clock, on one or the other side of the ball, but they're, but they can come in and get reps in special teams and be some fresh legs and be able to go out there and make a spark for us. And so, that's the type of thing that you want kids to buy into those roles and really appreciate those roles.
Very good. Tell us a little bit. I know you don't do this all on your own. Your coaching staff, introduce us to them.
Yeah, you got Castle Hatcher, who's obviously played quarterback that I coached against, and he's been great. So so far, from January on, he's been in there every single time that I've been, and plus some. He's just a football junkie, young man that loves the game and has great rapport with these young men. And so he does a little bit of everything for me. He coaches, quarterbacks, wide receivers. He's kind of – I haven't given him the title of a passing game coordinator or anything like that, but he's somebody that I trust to go and work on in that side of the football, when I'm working offensive line, his dad, George Hatcher, who's been around for a long time, helps me with the O-line as well. Then you got Kagan Skidmore, who's a guy that played at Somerset, was an all-state football player. Went to Eastern, was a 4-year starter at Eastern Kentucky, and he's back around, and he's helping with our offensive line, defensive line. Ty Tevis, who you talked about, Lindsey Wilson, but he was a great player at Somerset and was a national championship player there at Lindsey Wilson. And he's a young guy that we just got hired into the school system at Somerset, and we're excited about him and his energy level. Jared West is a young man that has been coaching middle school ball, and we bumped him up. He's also a teacher at Somerset High School and does a great job in the classroom, and has really taken on his roles as linebacker and running backs, and is doing a great job with those guys. And then Mr. Jason Rubel, who helps with our special teams and our specialists.
Very good. And, of course, there's some support staff. I don't know if you have anybody you'd like to give a shout-out to. Here's your opportunity. And don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know you've got a lot of support behind you there at Somerset.
We do. You got, Miss D. Cornett, who helps do our boosters, and she kind of keeps me in line and lets me know everything I need to be doing. And not in a bad way.
No, I get it.
How things have been done.
Having been in your,
we got to feed the kids here and this time and whatnot, and so it's great to have somebody with that's been around. And we got great administration. It starts at the top with Mr. Kyle Lively, and he was a big reason why I took the job. Me and him sat in a room one-on-one, and we talked about some things, and just his vision for what he wants Somerset to look like, and what he wants all of his programs to be like as far as how they're ran, and the expectations that we put on the kids. So it starts at the top with him, and then Mr. Jeff Wesley, who's the principal. We've sat in teacher meetings today, and just talking about how can we go from being good to being great as far as a school district. And I think that's what it's all about, is having high expectations for kids and all your programs and everything that you do, and that starts at the top with the leadership. And so those two guys have been really great to work with. And Mr. Kevin Burkett, who's our AD there at Somerset, he does a great job keeping us in line as well. So so far I haven't lost a game yet though either. So it's one of those things that it's
funny how that works.
It's been a really good honeymoon, and it'd be nice to not have to worry about that part of it for a while too. But no, I think they're solid people all the way around. Enjoyed our time. I mean, it's one of those deals. I picked up my family and brought my kids and my wife. We've moved to Somerset, and we're enjoying, being in the community and being citizens here, and, hopefully for a long time to come, and be able to enjoy a lot of good times together.
Touch on your schedule a little bit. Of course, we're going to kick things off. You'll be able to hear the game right here on Lake Cumberland Sports. We'll be traveling to Hazard, Kentucky, Perry County Central, a little bit bigger school that is off and on, but they've got a second-year coach, I believe, over there, maybe third, I forget. But
yeah.
Building a solid program over there. I know you got to be looking forward to that, but also just what little bit I've gotten to know you thus far is I know you're going to make it all about the kids on Friday night, but they're ready to go.
Yeah, luckily we got a couple more days to prepare here. Okay. But no, I go back. I mean, they've done everything that we've asked. I mean, does that mean that we're going to come out and play our most mistake-free ideal football in the first? Probably not. But I've never asked that from any team. My message to them will be the same Friday night as it would be if we're playing the state championship, and that's – if you're going to mess up, do it 100%. Go have fun, and let's get after it. And do what you've been coached to do, and everything. The scoreboard and everything else takes care of itself.
Look, I'm sorry.
And so, that's the message week in and week out. Play the next play, and and play hard and with a lot of effort, and let the chips fall at the end of the game.
looking at your schedule, of course, after Perry Central, you got Russell County, then Knox Central, Garrett County. There's a lot of teams on here that have a lot of tradition, much like Somerset High School. And then October 13th, you're going to have a home game against a team from Danville, the Admirals, your high school alma mater, and, you coach there. What's it going to be like for you that night?
I
may be asking you the impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give you the coach speak, say it's just another football game. It'll mean a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's how are we improving? Have we gotten better from the week before? It'll be a big district game for us, and it'll be about us going out and executing and playing and having fun. So it won't be about me and what, any of the past. It'll be another football game.
Coach, is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap things up here? We got 10 minutes. Shoot, what do we want to talk about? That's okay. Fast. That's quite all right. Let me do this. Let me do a little business over here. Of course, this is 2023 high school football coaches show, and come on down. Make that 89-cent wing night here. Just come on by and get that. That's whether you got bone in, bone out. Also, if you're wearing your jersey, $2 off appetizers, and any fan or anybody shows up wearing team colors, how about $2 off for a dessert? And come on out. We're still going to be here for a while. We're about halfway through this whole process. This Coach Donnie Hines will come on before this, and if something happens, you just got in and didn't catch it, you'll be able to join us on our Facebook page here at Lake Cumberland Sports. But, Coach, let's talk about family a little bit. The wife or the family of a football coach can be strenuous at times because you devote so much time to your craft. How do you get and maintain that work-life balance, and especially when you talk about your family?
Well, I don't know if I do it real well at times. I think it's something that, it's a ministry kind of, so to speak, for us. I think that my wife, I've got, like I said, I got a 6th grader and a 4th grader, and they're both playing youth football. So I'll leave our practices and go watch them practice, and a lot of that is just because of how I feel about the game of football. I feel like it teaches kids a lot of life lessons, and I feel like when it's done right, as a coach, you can have such a positive impact in a young man's life and in their school age time, which we all know is so important. And so, luckily I have a wife, Kate, that is bought into that as well. She's trying to move and get situated and all that, but I mean, it's one of those that we want a family atmosphere around our football program. You're going to see us, with kids in our house, inviting them in and feeding them and eating them and building those relationships. And I've been able to do that. This will be my 15th year as a head football coach in the state of Kentucky. I still get him, talk to guys that played for me in Henderson 10 and 12 years ago. I still have lasting relationships, and so that's important to be able to build those and whatnot. And so being able to do that in a new community with these guys is going to be fun.
You talk about, being in the new community, and we've touched on this a little bit already. Has there been anything since you've moved to Somerset that surprised you, whether it's football-wise, coaching-wise, community-wise, that, pleasantly surprised you or maybe caught you off guard a little bit?
Well, you can find some back roads around here, and you don't have to go up and down all these stoplights, right?
You don't love our stoplights?
Yeah, I mean, at first I thought, you had to go through all these lights. But, being able to learn some of the back roads and being able to doing some of the cut-throughs. But, no, it's we've, you enjoyed it. It's Somerset Independent School it's unique because Somerset, Pulaski County in general is a decent-sized county with a decent-sized population. But, the actual Somerset high school community is a small-knit group, and it's a very tight group. And how they've been welcoming to my family it's just been second to none. It gives me a little bit of goosebumps to think about it. But, everybody's opened up and, it's just been a really good experience. I know my boys are fired up about want to be going to Meese and want to be going to Hopkins tomorrow as we start school. And so that'll be their first day of school. I came down in January, but they finished out the year where they were. So that'll be their first day of school at Somerset, and they're excited about it. And, and then just the passion that this community has for football. The Somerset Youth Football League might be the best run youth football league in the state. I mean, it's second to none, and what the opportunities that they give for our kids that are playing youth football. We had the big camp where they bring in the players, and so they have, those coaches are out there 3 and 4 nights a week, and they're working with these young, with our littles, from kindergarten up. So that's what gets me excited about building a program and being able to, just get our numbers up and do the types of things that it's going to take to put us on the, and the ultimate goal is to be playing for state championships. And I've been fortunate enough to do that a couple of times, and there's no other feeling like it. And so, let's get the program back to where we're contenders in that game, year in and year out.
What are we going to see on Friday nights when we look at Coach Clevenger? I as an analyst, in the press box, a lot of times I like to watch coaches and see if I can get a feel. Are we going to see Mr. Intense, Mr. Calm, Cool, Collective? Tell us a little bit about your game night coaching style.
Depends on how we're playing.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Obviously, today I was on them pretty hard. I was making up stuff to be mad about. And I was kind of in a rant, but then I told them, like, look, I'm trying to put pressure on you right now because in a game on Friday night, you're going to have some pressure. And so can you focus through pressure? Can you do the things that you need to do when it gets tough? And so putting young men in those positions in practice. And so, in a game, I'd like to be a little bit more cerebral, a little bit more business. What's the next play? What do we got to do? If you see a mistake, you try to address it, but then you also got to be ready to have another play call in the next 25 seconds and be ready. You can't let one play dictate multiple plays. So, I think there's a level. I would like to think there's a level of intensity that you're going to see, that our kids can expect from me because I want to expect it from them, and I don't want to. I'm not going to ask them to do something that I'm not going to do. And so we're going to be out there. We're going to be coaching hard. And that's the great thing about the coaches. I mean, I've had multiple guys, in 7-on-7s and stuff. It's like, man, your coaches are flat getting after it. And, that's what the exciting part is that when you got, I don't have a big staff, but that's on purpose. I don't want guys out there standing around because it's a bad – I want guys coaching hard. I want guys going hard. I want players always going and moving and playing with the tempo and playing with the speed. And so, that's going to be – I've got to model that at the top if that's what I want. And so, that'll be the same way on game night.
You mentioned you've been in the school system since January. We talked a little bit about football all season. What's it been like in the classroom? Are you that same mentality guy in the classroom? Do you bring that same desire to push your students and let folks know maybe your role in, Somerset schools?
Well, you definitely want to be a leader. I do think that the head football coach in most places is looked at as a leader, and so that's a position that I take of great importance. Depending on what classes you're doing, obviously, the roles can change. And so right now we're working with kids with online classes and doing that. But yeah, I'd like to think that there's a certain level of professionalism that you're doing, that you take pride in your job. I don't think that that's something you can turn off and on. That you can say, hey, I'm going to be really good in this aspect of my life, but then I don't care about this aspect of my life. I don't think it works that way. And so, if you're going to be a great football coach and be a great teacher and try to be a great dad, great husband, great friend, and whatnot. And it's kind of what you're trying to push these young men to do. Is like, look, there's a sense of accountability and there's an expectation, and there's nothing wrong with shooting to be the best that you can be. And sometimes you're gonna miss and you got to regroup. All right, but don't let that keep you from shooting your shot again. And so just getting that mentality is important.
One of my favorite phrases I like to use when broadcasting is that in the game of football, you got to have a short-term memory, because there may be things that don't go your way, but the next play's coming up, you better be prepared. And I sense you kind of have that same attitude as well. I want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure sitting here chatting with you. I look forward to this 23 season. You got about 20 seconds to say if you want to shout out to anyone, anybody, or any final comment.
No, we're excited about it. Ready to get rocking and rolling on Friday night, and proud of these players and proud of they've had to deal with a lot of adversity. You think about these seniors; they haven't had a normal year of football probably in their 4 years, between COVID, between Coach Lucas being sick, and so trying to bring some normalcy and make this senior season as special as we can for those has been a priority of mine from day one, and we look forward to trying to make that happen.
Coach, thank you. We'll talk later in the week, and we'll see you in Hazard, Kentucky, Perry County Central High School, Friday night kickoff, 7:30. We'll be on the air about 5 minutes till 7 to get things started, get things set up here on Lake Cumberland Sports. Coach Clay Clevenger, head coach, Somerset High School Briar Jumpers, and I think we're going to step out, and Mike Kerr and as well as head coach Johnny Hines of the Pulaski Maroons are going to step in. We'll be right back as we change out chairs.
Testing 1, 2. Hello, everybody. Hi, Pat. If I can get John Hines in the saddle here, we'll go back to work. Hello, Coach.
How we doing today?
Say something to me.
Something to you.
Good job, Coach. Can you hear us? Hey, everybody. Welcome. This is Coach John Hines, if you don't know, head football coach, Pulaski County Maroons, and you're bringing up the rear tonight, Coach. If it's baseball, you're hitting third. That means it's a good thing. If you're the last guy up at the horse track, it means they've run all the good races and mean you're all that's left. So, anyway, how many years have we been doing this?
It's been a long time.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a good question. I'm not sure I can put a number on that, but
This is your how many year as head coach at Pulaski County High School?
this will be year 25.
That's what I thought. Well, we've been there for all of them. We just weren't on the air here for all of them. But thank you, man. Hey, you'll start Friday night in the Cumberland Falls Bowl.
Cumberland Falls Pigskin Classic.
Not going to be played at Corbin High School because of field that they're working on. You will be at the University of the Cumberlands.
Correct.
We got that right.
Correct.
Game
Correct.
time right now, depending on which pamphlet you read, is either 5:30 or 5:45. Here's my answer. If you come at 5:30, you'll be there for the kickoff. It may be at 5:45, but you'll get there for the kickoff.
Well, now, I've been told we're kicking off at 5:30, so
All right.
that's the plan from our side.
Well, now, if they tell the head coach that, because I know you start everything backed off from the kickoff. You're a man of structure. I've been around you. They can mess stuff up really badly. All right, last year, 9-3. Pretty good football season. I would have said 20-plus years ago, 9-3. Great season, Coach, but the expectation level at Pulaski County High School for their football program every year is high, and this year, no different?
Well, I guess that's a tribute to teams of the past that have put us in that situation. we'll embrace it. We're certainly not going to hide from something like that. So the expectations are very high and puts a lot of pressure on our players and our coaches and everybody involved in the program, but it makes it a lot of fun too.
See,
so
we're
excited about that.
I normally don't do this to you, but that was a leading question. I've led you into this. Your schedule, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you have a very young football team. We're going to start talking about some of those younger players and positions, and especially skill position players. You've got a bunch of youngsters that are going to be out there. So what do? You go play in a bowl game against a team that's won the state single A championship 3 out of 4 years, right?
I think so, and favored to win again this year.
Favored to win it again. So then you're going to go to Danville the week after that, which we all love Danville because
Everybody
we went to
knows about
Somerset.
Danville.
Even Coach Clevenger, who just left.
Coach Clevenger's a Danville guy.
He's a Danville guy. But then you got GRC, a 6A opponent that went 7-4 last year. And then you come home finally in week 4, and who do you have to introduce the fans to and get ready for the home season?
The 4A favorite.
4A favorite Corbin is coming in, and they are loaded, and I do mean loaded. So I look at your schedule, and then you're going to take a break after that. You're going to go to Woodford County, a team that was in the Final Four of 5A football last year and still loaded up, and that's before you ever get to a district game. And I'm going to ask you this with a straight face. Who made this schedule?
Well, you know, Mike, it's been extremely hard for us, and it gets harder and harder each time we make a schedule. A lot of traditional teams that we played in the past for years and years, anywhere from Somerset to Lincoln County to Wayne County to Rockcastle, to all these folks that people see us play in all the other sports.
Yep.
They simply won't play anymore.
And I think that's something a lot of people don't understand. It's not that Pulaski football wouldn't rather drive to Russell Springs on a Friday night than they would to Belfry.
Sure.
I mean, we're not going to.
Love to.
But it's come to the point now, if you're going to play a competitive schedule, you got to fire up the bus, Gus. And this year you've got 4 home games. You got 6 on the road. But the good news is Friday night you get to start counting them off. And all right, let's take a shot at where we are. I could punch you and say, you know, last year you lost about 3,200 passing yards out of this offense. 3,188, I think, was what Duggar had, somewhere in that neighborhood, and he threw for 41 touchdowns. You had a receiver who had 93 catches for 1,677 and 28 touchdowns. Your leading rusher graduated. Your leading tacklers, 2 of them graduated. And all of a sudden, I see a football team that has got a lot of holes to fill.
Well, you know, it happens that way. That's just the way it goes. Guys come and go as they grow up and get older and graduate, and we love having them and love them as players, and then they're gone. And so somebody else has got to come on and fill those holes. And so it's a great opportunity for a lot of our young players to step up and try to fill that production that you just mentioned. And so we're excited about our team. We've got some young players that we feel really, really good about. But, you know, the only drawback to that is they are young. They're inexperienced. A lot of them don't have much varsity playing experience at all. And so along with that comes growing pains.
You remember a few years ago, as we've talked about, we reminisce, you made a comment to me a time or two, the freshmen really don't play very much on our football team, maybe special teams every now and then, because it's just a step up in size and speed and complexity and all those other things. And then we went over Friday night and watched you scrimmage Knox Central, and I got to looking down your depth chart, and I counted 5 freshmen in the starting lineup and about 3 more that were out there real quickly. You do have a young football team.
We're very young, and you know, as you said, to your point, we feel like it's best for their production over the course of their career if they don't have to play varsity football as a freshman, because most of the time they're just physically not ready for the game. And obviously you don't want to see kids get hurt and get beat up. So, however, sometimes guys come in as freshmen and they're more physically mature and more ready to play than other folks. And some guys come in and they're just they're just better than the other folks that we have on the team. And so, there's always competition every day, competition for every position, competition in everything that we do. But, the guys that perform the best went out. And what can we say? We have an exceptional group of freshmen. We're very excited about them. As you said, 5 of them have come in and have come to play. They didn't show up just to be on the team. And all of them are physically advanced for a 14, 15-year-old freshman. They don't look and act like 14,
no, they
15-year-old
really don't.
freshmen.
I agree.
And so, with that comes the competition factor. And if they're the best at their position, I mean, we're going to do the best we can to put the best team on the field we can.
Let's start talking names. But the thing about some of these freshmen, they have played in enough football, not only at the middle school level, but at the all-star level and the competitive level. You've got some, like you said, you've got some guys that when they walk by you, you don't go, well, there goes a freshman. They pass the look test, and I'm going to let you choose. You want to start on the defensive side of the football where I like to play, or do you want to go into the offensive side where everybody else wants to hear about what's going to happen over there?
We always talk defense first.
Thank you.
That. Defense wins championships. If you can't stop anybody, you're in trouble.
Well said. All right. Your defensive front, I thought the other night, did an outstanding job. They're not that big.
No.
Let's start up front.
We are, if we have a major hole in our team, so to speak, it's our lack of size up front and especially on the defensive line. I'm proud of the way those guys are working, and they're doing a great job. And as you said, they've had 2 great outings in the 2 scrimmages that we've had. But we are at a size disadvantage probably in about every game. So a lot of things got to happen there in our favor, but I'm proud of the way they're all really working. When you start talking about our defensive lineman, rather, you start with the senior, Jay Bales. Jay Bales has been a 3-year starter and played a lot as a freshman. He's been a terrific defensive lineman his whole career. He returns for his senior year at defensive end. Young sophomore and Brody Johnson has claimed the nose tackle position. He's done a great job, and he, again, undersized, but has really had some good production. Colton Kane, another sophomore who's done an outstanding job as a defensive end. Caden Abnett is a senior that will see some action on the D-line. Samuel Whitaker is another senior that's going to play a lot at defensive end, both defensive end positions. Got some young players in Andrew Cash, who's a freshman, one of those freshman classes you talked about. Alex and Abnett is another one. Jet McHugh and Levi Bashirs are both young players, sophomores that are working to get on the field. So there's some depth there. And then you'll also see some of our offensive linemen play on the other side. We have to utilize them both ways in some situations. So you'll see guys like Brady Hull, Tyler Johnson, Mason Hall, Cam Denham, Bryson Brown, those kind of guys will show up on the defensive line every once in a while.
I'm assuming it'll still be a 3-4 look on your defense, which means the guys whose names you're going to hear a lot from Chris and I on the broadcast will be the linebackers. This defense is designed for the guys up front to do a lot of hard work and the linebackers clean a lot of stuff up. So let's go there.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. That's what the way the 3-4 scheme works. You got to have 4 guys that can make plays. And starting on the outside, our outside linebackers are 2 guys that I think you're going to be calling their names a whole lot. They're playmakers.
22 and 33?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They are returning starters, have played a lot of football. Ethan Idlewine is 22. He plays on the strong side. Ethan is just a terrific football player. He really is. Just doesn't make mistakes. He can play in coverage. He can play against the run. He's a very physical player. He can rush the passer. He just does so much for us on the edge. He's the type of player that the other teams have to plan for, or he can wreck the team. And kind of the same way on the other end with Trey Hornsby. Trey's a little more of a blitz guy. He'll get after the passer. Trey can make plays from behind that you don't expect. So those guys anchor the edges on the linebacker side. The inside are 2 inside linebacker positions. There's a lot of youth there. One of those freshmen you talked about, Brian Ramirez, has showed up, and he's done a great job, and he's claimed a spot inside. Gunnar Lovelace is a guy that played defensive end his first 2 years. So we moved him back to linebacker in spring practice, and he's done a great job and continues to develop in there as well. Another defensive lineman, we moved to linebacker, Ben Pritchard, who'll be a sophomore. Maddox Dunaway is a young freshman linebacker showing a lot of promise. And then we've also got a young one in Dylan Whitaker, another freshman linebacker. He's been behind a little bit. He injured his knee over the dead period in a kind of an accident at home, so he hasn't been able to practice a whole lot yet, but he's about to get well and be able to get out there and get some things done. So back on the outside, I mentioned Idlewild and Hornsby, who are the guys that are really playmakers for us. We've got a young pair of sophomores behind them, and Connor Flynn is a guy that has made plays. In the first scrimmage, he had a pick 6. In the second scrimmage, he blocked a punt. He's one of those guys that just does stuff like that and makes big plays, and you'll see him on the field a lot. Gavin Steele's a junior. Brian Ford, a sophomore. Some other guys that you'll see making plays in those outside linebacker spots. Got some young ones as well that are coming on. But, you mentioned the size issue, and, again, we don't have a lot of size there. So we've got to be able to play fast. We've got to play with some quickness and hopefully be playmakers at the linebacker position.
Get you a drink of water, and I'll let you rest for just a second as we remind everybody this is Lake Cumberland Sports and our 2023 Football Coaches Show here from Buffalo Wings and Rings. Come on out if you're a player wearing your jersey. They're going to give you $2 off any appetizer. And if you're a fan, just come in team colors, $2 off any dessert you've got, and it's 99-cent wings night. So if that doesn't make you want to stop by, just come on in and say hi to us and then get you something to eat.
And by the way, we appreciate Buffalo Wings and Rings for doing all this, but I didn't know about the $2 off on the wearing the jersey, so none of our guys are in jersey, so I'll pay the extra $2. Give our guys those $2 off. I'll take care of the $2.
Right.
That's my fault.
You heard it, and frame those $2 if you don't, because it's about the only. All right, I got one story I got to tell from Friday night, and then we're going to move on to the guys on the corners and the safeties and the rest of the defense. You beat Knox Central in a shutout, 40-0, but that's not what's important. Late in that game, they were inside the 10-yard line with 1st and goal, and it looked like they were going to bust the shutout. And one of those linebackers you just mentioned in Idlewild made back-to-back plays. And I asked him after the game, I said, was there something going on out there during that series? And he said, I didn't want them to score. That's a mentality. That was a game that was over for all intents and purposes. He should have been thinking about getting some cold drink, getting on a bus, and coming home. He said, I didn't want them to score. I think that mentality.
It is, and that's the kind of stuff that he brings to the team, and that's going to rub off on everybody else, because in those situations, you got to turn that motor up another notch, is what we like to say, and that's exactly what he did. And so that kind of stuff has got to rub off on everybody else. But that was one of the finest 4-play goal line stands we've seen a guy make in a long time.
He just, like I said, and then his comment to me was just matter of fact. It wasn't bragging. It wasn't anything else. He just said to me, I didn't want them to score. All right, let's talk about the guys on the outside that are going to defend the pass come Friday night. Pikeville, I know they're a mountain school, and everybody talks about mountain football, and I hear this stuff. Pikeville does not play your typical smash-mouth mountain football, if that's what you guys have got in your mind. You're going to look at them. Their colors are the same as Pulaski's. Their defensive scheme, most of their offensive scheme, you're going to see two teams that look a whole lot alike Friday night. So they're going to throw it some. So you guys on the corner and the back of the defense are going to be important.
They really are. They've got a nice quarterback and some nice receivers, and they do a good job and all the way around in their game planning and things like that. Coach McNamee and his staff do a great job coaching the football game, and so we've got our work cut out for us in the secondary. You talked about us being young and green in a sense that we don't have a lot of varsity experience back there, and we really don't. Xander Simpson is really the only returning starter that has a lot of experience in the secondary, and unfortunately Xander's got an injury. He won't be playing in the first game. We're hoping to get him well on down the line. Got injured in the first scrimmage. But, other than him, a lot of these guys are fairly new.
They
to
are
everything
young.
Going on. So Broderick Finley and Braden Ping are two juniors that have stepped it up and have claimed those safety positions. They're doing a good job. so far along the summer. We got senior Brock Green, who can also play a cornerback position, although he had an injury in spring practice, so he's kind of slowly getting back to full speed, but doing a good job. The guy that has really shocked us all is Jesse Dixon. Jesse's the younger brother of Jericho Dixon, who our fans will remember graduated last year. And we tried to get Jesse to play his freshman, sophomore year. For some reason, he didn't want to play football and changed his mind. And he's come out for his junior year, and he's worked out with us all winter and worked through the spring. And he's claimed a starting spot at cornerback and done a great job. So, we're excited about that. At the other corner, we got a good battle going, and it's going to go on into the game. A sophomore, Luke Martin, and a freshman, Cohen Finley. It'll probably be one of those two guys getting the start, and you'll see both of them playing Friday night. And they're both working hard, and I'm proud of those guys. Behind them, some young players, freshmen, as you mentioned. Kason Brock can play a terrific safety as well, and he's going to be on the field at safety. Tyson Hooker is this young freshman that is probably as talented as any of the group that we have. He's a little behind. He missed a lot of practice in the summer, so he's kind of catching up. But he's going to be a fantastic player, Tyson is. Boone Godby can play in the secondary. He's a guy that can do everything. He's another freshman. Bryson Mounts will be playing back there. Jack Furr is another freshman that's seeing some action back there. Caden Carrier. Maddox Burkett's another freshman. Stephen Kress. And, of course, Caden Richardson as well, senior who will see playing time at both safety spots. And then another one that, unfortunately, we haven't been able to do much with. He's had injuries all summer, still injured, is Gavin Atwell, who was penciled in probably to earn a starting spot going into spring practice. He's had a hamstring issue. He broke his thumb this summer, and so he's just kind of behind with injuries. But at some point, he's going to be healthy and be able to play there.
We'll take a break off of talking about the linemen and going to the offense. That's your coaching staff. I noticed something the other day. I walked through the building, and, of course, Coach Sharp is there with you, who's been around, and most of us know him all the way back to at least the days at Russell County, but Coach Sharp is there. But I looked around at the faces in that locker room, and I think without exception I could say former Maroon, former Maroon, former Maroon. Your coaching staff has filled in with a whole lot of guys that wore the colors for you all.
We have, and we're really excited. I am about our coaching staff. For so many years, Mike, we had a core of coaches that didn't change for a long, long time, and we had a few new ones, and we'd lose one here and there and add one, but the core stayed the same for a long time. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've really had a lot of turnover within the staff, and I'm really excited about this staff. They're doing such a great job. As you mentioned, Coach Sharp, who's been with us, I think this is his 4th year now, coordinates the defense and does a tremendous job with that. Coach Jason Roberts is with us and has been a long time, coaches the defensive line, former Maroon. Darren Meese is with us on the offensive line. Coach Meese coached, of course, in our middle school for a long time. He coached at Taylor County, and he's back with us on the O-line. Former Maroon, was an outstanding player, played at Cumberland College. Phil Russell, not a former Maroon, however, he coached here back in the early 2000s then left and had some other jobs, moved around, was a head coach at Lynn Camp for a time, and he's back with us now, coaches of wide receivers. David Seward, former Maroon, coaching our cornerbacks and our running backs. Jackson Mobley, former Maroon, coaches linebackers. We're glad to have him. He's the first year on the staff. Trevor Ridner's back for his 2nd year coaching wide receivers, former Maroon. Jake New, former Maroon, working with our secondary. And so we're just glad to have those guys. And I'm thrilled with them, not only because, number one, they're good football coaches. They know how to teach the game the right way. Number two, they're good people, and they're passionate about what they do. And number three, as you said, they're former Maroons. They bleed Maroon. They're all about Pulaski football. That's important to them. And that attitude bleeds over into our team. And I'm excited about the staff. I hope I don't mess anything up. But we're glad to have those guys. Also on our staff, I want to mention Daniel Fleckenstein, who's our director of football operations.
Exactly.
We're glad to have him. And
I applied for that job, but I wasn't qualified.
We're glad to have Katie Jackson back, our athletic trainer. Gordy Prather's our team chaplain, former Maroon. And, of course, we're excited about all those guys and gals that are part of our staff.
All right, we're going to jump to the offense, and thank you for playing along with the former Maroon thing. But it is a sign of people who want to come back and be a part of something, and the fact that they're all on the same page in the same room, I think, is a pretty cool thing. All right, offense, normally we would start out with the guy slinging it. That's where most people would. I want to talk about the front. I thought Friday night one group impressed me in the scrimmage more than any other group that you had on the field. A young offensive line that I did not expect to do what they did against a team that had put up the yardage that Knox Central had last year and had a running back. And they literally came out, and they were the running game and passing game that couldn't be stopped. They put up 40, and it wasn't because the offensive line, I don't know, did Anderson ever get knocked down?
He actually had a sack, but I think it was his fault.
He dropped the ball one time.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
He did get sacked once, but it was his fault. I think he made a mistake.
His uniform was clean.
Play. But really proud of the way our offensive line has come around this summer. As you said, Tyler Johnson is a right guard. He's a senior, the only senior of the group, 3-year starter, and Tyler has had a great offseason. The season before, he had some little injuries that were irritating and bothered him a little bit through the course of the offseason in the weight room and so forth. And so he's felt good this year. He's had a great offseason. He's playing better than he ever has, and we're excited about Big Tyler and what he's doing. Bryson Brown's back at the other guard slot. Bryson started last year, came back off that horrific knee injury he had 2 years ago and had a great season. Bryson's the smallest of the offensive line, but he makes up with it with his mean. So we're excited about what he adds to it. Camden Denham is a guy that's played guard and tackle most of his career. We moved him to center in spring practice, and he took to it like he's done it all his life and did a great job. He'll get the start at center. And in the tackle positions, Mason Hall came on last year at one tackle and just had from about mid-season on, he had as good a season as any offensive tackle we've had in a long time, a good half a season. And so he's back and going to be a junior, doing a great job. And then the other tackle is one of those freshmen you mentioned. Brady Hall steps in there. He's one of those guys that doesn't look like a freshman, and he's very physically mature, and he's stepped in and claimed that spot, and they've done a great job with those guys up front. Got some good ones behind that are coming along. I mentioned sophomore Levi Bashirs earlier, who's a center. Caden Abnett will be a senior. He can fill in at guard positions. Kylan Grover can play either guard, possibly play tackle. Tommy York's a junior, can play tackle. Andrew Cash is one of those freshmen that can play guard or tackle. Alex Abnett can play guard or tackle. Kevin Perez is a young lineman. So there's a lot of depth there. And as I mentioned, in all of those names, one senior. So, and only three guys, if you count Mason Hall, 3 guys who are returning as starters, even though one of them's not the position he was before. So a lot of green there, but you're right. They've come together very well. They've had great practices. They've done a great job in the offseason, and really are, I believe, going to be a bright spot for us.
Well, my critique's not all that important. That's just what jumped out at me Friday night, because I thought the offensive line played really, really well. Let's take a look at the tight ends and your receiving core.
Well, the receiving core got to start the conversation with Harris Denmeyer. Harris was somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 yards receiving last year as a sophomore. Of course, everybody remembers Chandler Gobby and the huge season that he had, but Harris also had a great year. He kind of flew under the radar. Harris is a home run hitter, if you will. He's got the speed to beat you over the top. And so he's going to get the ball a lot. I'll just tell you that.
Early and often, Coach.
He's our Z receiver. Our tight end is a guy that we moved from defensive end over to tight end this summer, Decker Wheeldon, young sophomore. And so he's learning the position. Very green, but he's done a great job. Decker's a prototype tight end. He's about 6'5", and he's come a long way. Our other receiver on the outside, going into Friday night, it looks like another freshman, another Godby. Not Chandler, but his little brother Boone. Boone can do a lot of stuff. Boone comes in as a quarterback, as we talked about, but he can play a lot of other positions, and I mean, he does a great job as a wide receiver as well. So those are the guys that you're probably going to see there. We've got some depth. Cohen Finley can play either wide receiver position. Jack Furr, I mentioned him earlier in the secondary. His primary position is probably a tight end. He's a freshman. He's about 6'4", and one of those guys in a couple years is going to fill out to be a real big human. And he runs well, learning that tight end position really good. Jet McEwen's another one that's a sophomore, can play that spot. Back on the outside, guys like Jeffrey Diaz is a young freshman that can do a lot of things. Logan Marshall, a freshman. I didn't mention Kyle Wethington. We had talked about him off the air before we came in. Kyle probably would have been in that starting lineup somewhere, but he's being held out. He's got some health issues, and we hope he's fine. He feels fine. Things are going well, but we're waiting for the doctors to give us the okay to get him back in the action. But those are the guys you're going to see more than any at the receiving positions. The running back spots, Kason Brock, another freshman, has stepped up and had a tremendous summer.
He doesn't look like a freshman.
No, he doesn't. He's got a lot of natural instincts. The running back position. Ethan Idlewild, of course, played running back last year and will again this year. We're looking forward to seeing Brian Ford, a young sophomore. You'll see him on the field. Ryan Anderson, who's a quarterback. We've moved to that A-back position, we call it. So he'll be that slot receiver a little bit. You'll see him in action as well. Young freshman Tyson Hooker, I mentioned, is a fabulous young athlete. He's coming on. Stephen Kress, another freshman. Caden Richardson can play that spot as well. And Maddox Burkett as a running back. I didn't mention Luke Martin. Luke's got a lot of action at cornerback right now, but he's also a running back that can run the football. So there's some depth there, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
You remember one year we got through this and didn't mention your starting quarterback? We are not going to make that mistake this year, but we are. This is Lake Cumberland Sports. We're at Buffalo Wings and Rings. We're our 2023 football coaches show. I want to remind everybody, you still got time to come out for the fun. Any player wearing their jersey will get $2 off an appetizer. Any fan wearing their team colors will get $2 off of any dessert. If you want to bring those by, we will taste them for you. Also, it's 99-cent wing night. Our thanks to all the good people here at Buffalo Wings and Rings. Okay, so we don't mess this up. Coach, who's going to be your starting quarterback this year?
Well, we've had a really good battle at the quarterback position. Started back in spring practice with some guys, and quite frankly, a guy that we really didn't expect to win the spot has just been spectacular. And
he looked good Friday night.
His improvement each and every day is over the top. He works extremely. Zach Anderson, we're talking about, I didn't even name him, but he works so hard every day to improve his game. And he's green as well. Hadn't played the quarterback a lot, if I'm not mistaken. As an eighth grader, it was the first time he ever played the quarterback position. And then he came to us last year as a freshman, and he plugged right in at tight end. I think he started over half the games as a tight end as a freshman and did a great job. But he's going to take snaps, and he's done a great job this summer, and we're really proud of him. I think the team has rallied with him. I think they believe in him, and I think they're going to play hard for him, and they think he can do some amazing things. He's done them. He's done some amazing things in practice. He's young and inexperienced. We're going to have some growing pains. But I don't want to put a lot of pressure on him, and I don't know if he's listening. He's sitting over there, but I will say this. By the time he graduates high school, he's going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen.
It's pretty good company.
We've had some good ones. We've had many, many years of all-state quarterbacking, but this guy's going to be something really special.
I thought Friday night, I said this to you off the air. I'm going to say it to you because we're probably going to head toward the finish line here, or the goal line, in just a minute. I expected, as young as this team is and what you and I had talked about, and my first look at them against somebody else, I expect there to be alignment problems and substitution problems and those kind of things with a very young football team. That's not what I saw. So to me, it tells me that, one, they're a little more mature than we give them credit for, maybe. Now the big lights come on Friday night, and all of a sudden the air – a little harder to get in, and it's harder to play. But I expect that you've instilled enough confidence in this bunch. They're ready to go play.
Well, I think they are. I think, we haven't had a lot of practice. It's been the type of summer where, as we've talked about before, we wait till as late as possible to get started in summer practice, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But we only had 16 practices before our first scrimmage, so we'd like to have more practice time. It's just not there. But we're working each day, and I think they improve each day. And you'll probably see some mistakes like that.
But everyone will have mistakes week one.
Maybe you didn't catch it. We had to burn a timeout because we only had 10 out there for a punt in the Knox Central scrimmage.
Well, speaking of your punter, let's don't forget to go there in just a second, your special teams.
But we'll grow up. We'll grow up as we go.
We'll be there with you.
We're looking forward to it. Special teams, as you mentioned, Ethan Adelwine does a lot of our punting. Zach Anderson can punt. Trey Hornsby can punt. You're going to see Mr. Automatic and Bryson.
Mr. Mounts
doing some extra point kicking and some kicking off, and Ethan will probably do a lot of the kicking off. So glad to have those guys. We feel very blessed to have some depth in the kicking positions.
We will see everyone Friday night. We're not done yet, but we'll see everybody Friday night, 5:30, tentative for the kickoff. And we'll go on the air about 20, 30 minutes before that, depending on what they tell us. But you'll be able to hear all three local teams Friday night. Will be the kickoff because we're going to be going at 5:30. Somerset will play at 7:30, as I've been reminded, and I think Southwestern's game is at 7:30. So week one, all three games on Friday night on LakeCumberlandSports.com. You can find us on Facebook. We don't play, Pulaski does not play a video game until week 4 when Corbin comes to town. The reason for that, that's the first time John Hines managed to schedule a home game this year. So, again, you can blame him if you want to. But, again, the early season is going to be a lot of fun. I know you, and maybe one bit of advice, old man to young man. Maybe an extra dose of patience.
Calling me a young man?
An extra dose of patience because of the youth on this football team. Not to forgive, not to overlook, but to realize how young they really are.
Well, they are, and we're going to grow up, but we got to grow up fast. We don't have a lot of time.
Well, you've got till Friday.
You mentioned Somerset there, and I want to wish them well, too. I think the world of Coach Clevenger. We've known each other a long time, and they got a good one there, and I hope they do well. And, and I want to say hey to those other Maroons that are out there at those college football camps trying to get better.
Well, there's a bunch of them.
We got, we've had a bunch over the years. We're down to 3 now. They're still playing. Tristan Cox, of course, at Ohio U.
Yes.
We're excited about that. Want to wish him the best in the MAC. And then Chandler Godby, a freshman at Georgetown College, and Bryson Duggar, freshman at University of Cumberland's. And they're hanging in there and doing well, so we want to wish those guys the best of luck in college football.
Hollywood, that's Bryson Duggar, by the way, if you don't know. Hollywood told me Friday night that he had something going on, but he'd be there as soon as he could Friday for your all's ball game. He doesn't have to do anything but come across the practice field.
I know, he's right there.
But anyway, John, I appreciate you being with us. And again, anything that you want to throw out there that you want to make known, I know your boosters, your administration, people like that deserve a shout out. And Brian Miller, we should mention Coach Miller.
Brian Miller, athletic
fighting
director.
it a little bit right now.
He's had a rough summer, but he's coming out of it. We're awful proud of him. We're proud of. We're glad to have Kevin Cook and all of our administrators and Julie Hornsby and all the folks that work in the Booster Club. There's so many people behind the scenes that make this program go, and we couldn't do it without them. And we certainly appreciate you all and all the things you do for us, and Wings and Rings, and all the folks that put these kinds of things on. We're just honored to be a part of it all.
Thank you, John Hines. We will see you Friday night.
All right.
Guys, that is going to wrap up our 2023 football coaches show.